Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation.
Hello, family. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Harmony. I'm your host, Richard Harmon. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the response to the event that recently happened. So, three U.S. soldiers were unfortunately unalived at the base in Jordan as a drone attack hit the base. 34 people overall were injured, and many believe that it was Iran was behind the overall issue, and they were using a militia to carry out the attack. Joe Biden and his team has spoken many times about this particular issue, and they've gone over and above to state that they are not interested in a war with Iran. This is really interesting, and I played this video in the beginning because I wanted to show the difference in between the idea of leadership in times of hard times. Many people may not like George Bush, whether it's you believe that he committed war crimes, whether or not you believe that he carried the nation into war, but he was decisive, and we got a chance to see that whether it's in this particular video, whether it's in some of the actions that he carried out, and unfortunately it's something completely different in terms of what we have currently at the moment. I'm going to play a video here in terms of Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. He had a press conference and he was asked about whether or not this would be a declaration of war, and he had his response here that he played. So I'm going to play a little bit of that. We'll watch a little bit, come back and talk about it just after that. Your first time joining, please consider subscribing to the channel, and here we go.
Referred to a multi-staged response to yesterday's attack. Do you hold Iran directly responsible? Do you consider the US to be at war or on the verge of war at this point? And what impact?
The attacks that have taken place since October on our forces, on our personnel in both Iraq and Syria have been conducted by groups that are aligned with Iran, and indeed are supported by Iran, funded by Iran, equipped by Iran. And I would note that the presence of our forces in both Iraq and Syria has nothing to do with Gaza, nothing to do with the conflict that's taken place since October 7th. It's the horrific attacks by Hamas, and everything to do with making sure that ISIS doesn't reemerge. That's why they're there. Something that Iran should share as an interest, but on the contrary, the groups that are aligned with it have been conducting these attacks. And as I mentioned, we do not seek conflict with Iran. We do not seek war with Iran, but we have and we will continue to defend our personnel and to take every action necessary to do that, including responding very vigorously to the attack that just took place. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to get ahead of where the president is. I'm certainly not going to telegraph the response, but as I mentioned, that response could well be multi-leveled. It could come in stages, and it could be sustained over time. At the same time, totally separately, we have been working to try to get hostages back out of Gaza, and at the same time to get an extended pause in. And that effort is something that we are very, very actively pursuing right now.
All right, guys, so there it is right there. That was a pretty weak response overall. If you are Iran, if you are Hezbollah, if you are Hamas, you watch that and you say, okay, guys, we're all in. We're pushing forward. Many people are, for better or for worse, they have a healthy respect for Donald Trump, and anything that wants to be done needs to be done ahead of time. I've talked a lot about the immigration process and many people who are crossing the border illegally. I expect, again, there to be record crossings here in the next 6 to 8 months as people see that Donald Trump has a chance of coming back to the White House, and their opportunity for getting into the United States is closing. So again, with that, as people see this particular response, it sounds like a word salad. All you heard there was, we don't want a conflict with Iran. We don't want to upset this issue as we're trying to deal with the hostage situation, and basically overall just a topic of just some soft, really, really soft answers. We're at a time right now where those who seek to do the U.S. harm are growing in number. The allies and the connections that once were are seemingly depleting, and there needs to be a person in office right now who is capable of standing firm and showing that he has a resolution and a strong will in terms of defending the United States citizens. And that does not seem to be the case right now in the Biden administration. What I'm gonna do here is go ahead and play the rest of the George Bush particular video. We get the chance to see again whether or not you like him, but the words themselves are completely stark and different in comparison to what is it we just heard. If it's your first time joining, once again, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel, and here we go.
Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shattered steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful, and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks. The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them. I appreciate so very much the members of Congress who have joined me in strongly condemning these attacks. And on behalf of the American people, I thank the many world leaders who have called to offer their condolences and assistance.